is. And some people can receive that and they'll change. Other times you have to be a little bit more subtle in your approach. A lot of it depends on how much relationship you have with the person. Do you have enough relationship to speak into their lives? Are they open to receive what you have for them? If not, then you might not be super confrontational, right? You might have to be a little bit more subtle about it. But I find that nowadays, especially Facebook is just the place for confrontation. Like, somebody posts something and everybody's like, no, that's not the way it is. And even Christians, I find, get involved, very involved in it. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it might not be good, And just as an example of this, there actually was someone recently that has become, he used to say that he was a follower of Jesus, and now he's very opposed to Christianity. He says Christianity is a cult, right? And so he posts this on Facebook, and he gets a stream, because he's got a lot of friends that are followers of Jesus. And so we're all like, no, what are you talking about, I felt like, I asked the Lord, how do I respond? What words can I say? Because sometimes I feel like I should jump in, but I felt like the Lord said, no, don't jump in. And he said, I want you to private message him. And this was actually after several days of thinking about it. He's like, I want you to private message him, and I want you to apologize if there was anything that you had done that had given him a bad view of Jesus or Christianity or anything like that. Okay, so I did. I reached out to him and I said, man, I'm so sorry. If I was one of the ones that made you feel like Christianity, like Jesus was rotten to the core, whatever, I was like, I just want to apologize for that. And I just left it at that. No argument. And he came back and he said, you know what? He was very gracious. He said, no, actually, you were a good representation, and I appreciate all that you've done, and this kind of very kind words. I was surprised. To be honest, I was surprised. But I knew what God was doing. God was challenging his assumption that all Christians are ... right? And I saw that kind of, as I was typing this message to him, I saw how God was going to use that to break down the arguments and the pretenses that he had built up. All right? So our approach is important. And sometimes tearing down arguments does not mean arguing. Jesus said this, Matthew 10:16. He said to his disciples, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Okay, first of all, that's kind of scary, right? Sheep among wolves. That's not a good place to be. But listen, therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Shrewd as snakes, innocent as doves. You know what he's saying? You need to be wise in the way that you approach people. You need to really think through it. Don't just be reactionary. Shrewd means that you've given it some thought and you're taking a very calculated approach in what you're doing. Shrewd. You've really thought it through, right? And as innocent as doves. Obviously, Jesus wants us to be innocent. In other words, when we approach someone innocently, like I have to know going into that I sincerely love this person. Because if I don't love this person, then my approach to them is not going to be good. I'm just going to be trying to tear them down. But I have to be innocent as a dove. We have to be innocent in our approach. Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
All right. But then we do what Paul did. We bring the truth against the arguments and the pretensions that set themselves up against the knowledge of God. We ask questions like Jesus did. He was really good at asking the right questions. Have you noticed that? He was so subtle. Talk about shrewd. Okay, you want me to answer this question? I will answer your question if you answer mine first. And here's my question. And you know what? They couldn't answer his question. So he's like, then I'm not going to answer yours. Because they knew that if they answered his question, that they would be trapped in a lie. That they would be trapped in their pretense. That's what happened with the spiritual leaders of his day. He knew what was true. And he could call out their inconsistencies. So not to judge, we don't do this to judge people or to make them feel bad, but we do it in a way that makes them think about what is ultimately true and what is not. Sometimes in direct ways, especially if we have relationship, and sometimes in very subtle ways. Let's all stand together.